it's Nina. Thanks for joining me today for a new video tutorial, and happy Wednesday. I'm going to be sharing a look at the ultraviolet color of the year. Pantone is the color authority in many different industries, and this year in 2018 they have chosen ultraviolet as the color of the year. They feel that ultraviolet is going to be seen in so many different areas around different types of industries, including the crafting industry, and I wanted to be able to feature that color today and show you how you can use a color like this, Pantone's color of the year, ultraviolet, in a really amazing way to be able to pull a whole entire card together focusing on that specific color. Now, if purple isn't your color and you want to do something different, definitely feel free to try to turn this into another style of card using a different color, but try to keep to one color. See what you can do with one color. In this case, this is ultraviolet. You can create some really amazing depth and interest in your cards using just one color, and it makes a really big impact. Alright, so I want to start first by showing you how I created the background that you see on this card. So I took a piece of watercolor paper and I taped it down to a hardboard and I spritzed it with water, getting the paper nice and wet so that I can start adding ink on top of it. Now I'm going to start adding some ink using Distress Ink refills. This is going to create a really unique effect. I'm going to show you how I took these Distress Ink refills and I filled up the eyedropper and started dropping the color onto my paper. Now because the paper is wet, this color is really starting to just kind of blow out into different areas and bloom, and it's creating some really neat effects. I'm going to maximize the uniqueness of this by taking a sponge. You can use any type of sponge. Something with a lot of texture really helps to make this look really cool. But I'm just dabbing that into the color and getting it to move. And that's really soaking into the paper and creating some really neat textural effects. Now I'm going to intensify this purple color by bringing in some wilted violet. And again, I'm dropping this onto the paper and it's blooming out and creating some really cool effects. Again, I'm going to take that sponge and just dab that in different areas to get the color to blend a little bit and create some texture. It's really creating some fun designs in this paper. Now this paper is extremely wet, so you want to make sure you let this dry really, really well. To make this background look even more interesting, I brought in some perfect pearls. Now I chose the perfect pearls because this is going to dry into this watercolor paper and the ink that we've added on here, and it's going to create some really beautiful shimmery effects. Now it doesn't look like there's a whole lot on here, but I really did sprinkle quite a bit of these perfect pearls over this background, and once it dries you'll see it creates a really beautiful shiny effect. Again, like I said, this doesn't look like there's a whole lot on here, but this powder really does go a long way when you use just a little bit of it. Another fun product that I brought into this project is the Prima Marketing Metallic Accents. And I brought the fittingly named ultraviolet color, that purple one, into this background by just spritzing on some flicks of the color using a wet paintbrush. This is creating some really fun blooms in the project, and like I said, it's not showing up really well right now, but once this dries, you're going to see all of the beautiful texture and color we've got going here. Now you can pick this up and get the color moving a little bit by tipping the paper back and forth, and I let this dry overnight. This is the next day, and you can see that perfect pearls is just really intense on that paper, and it's creating some really beautiful shiny effects. You can see just that tiny bit really did go a long way. And we have that fun ultraviolet metallic accents in there too. Okay, now I want to go ahead and die cut this panel to make it a little bit smaller. So I'm going to take a piece of thin paper. This is just some scrap paper that I had laying around. But I'm going to use this because there's so much ink on here, and it was the next day and not that long after I had created this. And I wanted to make sure that this was going to be good and dry before I die cut it. So I used that paper in between my die and my background panel to just make sure to protect that paper. And that paper did get stained with the ink, and it's because the pressure of the die cutting machine was really smushing that ink and it transferred onto that thin paper. So once my background was cut, I started working on the elements I'm going to put on top of my background. This is the really fun Shouting from the Rooftops stamp set, and this is one of our newer stamp sets for Simon Says Stamp. I'm going to go ahead and color this with purple markers. Now this is a night scene that I'm creating here. You saw my background already. So I wanted to make sure to color these buildings to look like that the light was coming around the edges and that the innermost areas of these buildings were the darkest, because if you think about where the light is coming from, that light is coming from the sky, and anything that's in the shadows is going to be really intensely dark. So in this case, it's the middle of the building, and only the outer edges is getting hit with the light. So I really made sure to concentrate the darkest coloring in the middle parts of those buildings, and then I used a lighter purple to keep a lighter highlight for the outer edges of the buildings. I used just 2 different shades of markers here. I used actually the fluorescent purple Copic marker, and then I also used BV08. It's a really intense dark purple, and I really liked the contrast that these two had, and they actually blended really well together. The paper that I used to color on was the Canson Bristol Smooth cardstock. Alright, now I'm bringing in some sentiments. So you first see some sentiments here that I'm stamping onto a piece of black cardstock. I'm using Simon Says Stamp clear ink and some silver embossing powder. These are sentiments from the Shouting from the Rooftops stamp set, and it says Shouting from the Rooftops. I cut these down into small little banners, which I'm then going to attach down onto the right-hand side of the card in kind of like a very cattywampus style. I also have die cut some sentiments from our Happy Birthday die cut set. This is a really fun font, and I thought it really matched nicely with the style of the card. I cut that from some purple cardstock and also some white shimmer cardstock. Now I also used some yellow shimmer cardstock, and I added just a slightly darker tone to it by using a Copic marker and coloring over that yellow. I wanted something a little bit more intense. So I colored that to make the shimmer paper a little bit darker, and then I cut it with some star dies from one of our Simon die sets. And then I'll be attaching these down with some liquid glue. Now here's where I attached down my little sentiment banners. I added foam tape to the back side of them and then layered them on the right hand side of the panel. I also, like I said, took liquid glue and attached the stars down. This is collage medium, and I'm using a craft pick to help me attach these down in the perfect position and pick them up. I also attached the rest of my sentiment down with some liquid glue as well. Now there are 3 layers to the word birthday, and the word happy is just 1 layer. The variation in height for these sentiments really creates a lot of interesting depth to this card. One last final detail to bring in a little bit more of that shine from the background. I took some teeny tiny sparkling star confetti sequins from Pretty Pink Posh and added those into the background, and that really intensifies that silver look in the background and also adds just a little bit more interest to that sky. I love how this card turned out, and I love how all of these ultraviolet colors work together to create a really interesting scene, and it's a really fun way to be able to use just one color to make a really great impact on your card. I hope you enjoyed this look at using the ultraviolet color of the year. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below, and you can head on over to our blog to get more information on this card, including still pictures and products used. Thanks for watching. I will see you again very soon, and have a great day. Bye!